Hi, I'm Miss Sarah, and this is At Home Makerspace, where every week I show you how to make fun projects with things you can find at home. Our projects this summer are all inspired by our library's summer reading theme, Imagine Your Story, which is all about fantasy and fairy tales and imagination. Now, this week's project is inspired by Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. We will be making potions, also known as kitchen science experiments. Let's get started. Our first project is a classic fizzing potion made with baking soda and vinegar. Sound off in the comments if you guys have tried this one before. I'm going to show you the classic way to make it, and then we'll add a special ingredient to make it work even better. Start by adding 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Next, we'll add 1 tablespoon of vinegar. When your fizzing starts to slow, you can add another tablespoon of vinegar to get it fizzing once again. So how does this fizzing potion work? Well, when you mix together baking soda and vinegar, it releases carbon dioxide gas, which is the same gas you find in a can of soda pop. To make this project work better, we need something that can help trap all that carbon dioxide gas in bubbles. So we're going to be adding some dish soap. See what a difference the dish soap made? Now that you know how to make a fizzing potion, you can have fun experimenting. Try adding extra ingredients or changing the amounts of the ingredients. You can also use this potion to create other projects, like a volcano or even a rocket. But I decided to create something a little more cinematic. Cue the dramatic music. Our next project will be a crystal growing potion. Even better, these are crystals you can eat. The ingredients you'll need are 1 cup of filtered water and 3 cups of white sugar. You may also choose to add food coloring and a flavoring. You'll also need a jar or glass, a popsicle stick or pencil, a piece of string, undyed cotton works well, and something to weight your string, like a washer. You'll also need something to cover your jar, like aluminum foil or a sheet of paper towel. Finally, you will need a saucepan or microwave-safe dish, as well as a spoon. Start by tying your weight to one end of your string. Make sure your weight has been thoroughly cleaned and sterilized in boiling hot water. I recommend tying a double knot to make sure it's extra secure. Now you're going to tie the other end around your popsicle stick or pencil. Make sure your washer doesn't reach all the way to the bottom of your jar. It should be about 2/3 of the way down. You can also replace the string with a wooden skewer and use a clothespin to hold it in place. Next, we're going to prep the string by adding what's known as seed crystals. Start by getting your string a little bit wet, then roll it around in some white sugar. By adding sugar crystals to the string, we're creating a foundation upon which the rest of our crystals can grow. If you're using a wooden skewer, you'll want to do the same thing. Get it wet and coat it with sugar. Set your string or skewer to the side to dry. You know it's dry when you can gently shape or tap the string or skewer and the sugar crystals do not fall off. Next, add your water to your saucepan or a microwave-safe dish. If you're using a saucepan, turn your burner to medium-high, and if you're using the microwave, begin heating your water. When the water is hot, you can begin to add the sugar. Add 1 cup of sugar at a time and stir until all of the sugar dissolves. When your first cup of sugar has completely dissolved, it's time to add your second cup. If you're heating your water in the microwave, you'll want to alternate between heating it for about 30 seconds and then adding your sugar, and stirring until the sugar dissolves. Whether you're using a microwave or a stovetop, remember that the water will get hot, so use caution or ask a grown-up for help. When your second cup of sugar has dissolved, it's time to add your third. It might take a bit longer for this last cup of sugar to dissolve. Try adding the sugar a little bit at a time and remember to keep stirring. What we are creating here is something called a super saturated solution. Try saying that 3 times fast. Here's a little bit more about the science behind super saturated solutions. Here we have some sugar and some water. If we add a little sugar to the water and give it a stir, the sugar will dissolve in the water. But water can only dissolve so much sugar. When the water has dissolved all the sugar that it can, this is known as a saturated solution. If you try adding more sugar, that sugar won't dissolve no matter how much stirring you do. But there is a trick for getting this extra sugar to dissolve. You simply heat the water. Hot water can dissolve more sugar than room temperature water. Once the extra sugar has dissolved, you can let it cool back to room temperature, and that extra sugar will stay dissolved. Since our room temperature water is now holding more sugar, it is known as a super saturated solution. When all of the sugar has dissolved, you can choose to add an optional flavoring. I'm adding a food-grade essential oil, but you could also add an extract like peppermint or vanilla. You can also choose to add some food coloring at this stage. Give everything a final stir, and then it's time to remove it from the heat. You'll want to let it cool for at least 15 minutes. Now you can add your cooled mixture to your jar or glass. Fill it up most of the way, but you don't want it to be completely full because you don't want to risk spilling it. If you have any left over, you can use it to fill a second jar. Carefully place your string into the middle of the jar and let the stick rest across the top. Now loosely cover your jar with something like aluminum foil or a paper towel. You just want to protect it from having any dust or debris fall into your liquid. Now place your jar somewhere where it's not likely to be disturbed. And then we wait. We'll check in with our crystal growing potion in a few days to see how our crystals are growing. So why do these crystals grow? Well, remember our super saturated solution with that extra sugar? When we add a string with sugar crystals on it, the extra sugar in the water attaches itself to those sugar crystals, growing bigger and bigger crystals. It is now 1 week later and time to taste test our crystal growing potion. I broke off a small piece earlier and let some of the syrup drain off. And you can see here it is sort of little cubes all stuck together to make this really fun crystal shape. Now let's try it. It's very orangey. That is really good. I wanted to leave you with one last tip. When you are cleaning up your jar, you may have some extra sugar on the bottom or on the sides that might be kind of tricky to get off. Just add some hot water to dissolve that sugar and it'll make it much easier to clean. Our third and final project will be a rainbow potion. Here's what it'll look like. See the stripes of different colors? You'll need water, white sugar, and food coloring. Liquid food coloring works best. You'll need some small bowls or cups for each of your different colors, as well as a cup for your final potion. You'll also need a spoon to stir and some measuring spoons. Start by adding different amounts of sugar to each of your 4 cups. The first will have 1 tablespoon. The second will have 2 tablespoons, the third 3 tablespoons, and the fourth 4 tablespoons. We're adding different amounts of sugar because we want each of our 4 colors to have a different density. Now, density is just a fancy way of saying how much stuff is packed into a particular space. The more dense something is, the more stuff is packed in. So our cup with 4 tablespoons of sugar will be our densest. A liquid that is less dense will float on top of a liquid that is more dense. This means that our solution with 3 tablespoons of sugar should float on top of our solution with 4 tablespoons of sugar. Now it's time to add some water. We're going to add the same amount of water, 3 tablespoons, to each of our 4 glasses. I would recommend using water that is warm or at least room temperature because it will help your sugar to dissolve more easily. Now stir each of your cups to dissolve the sugar. Chances are you'll be able to dissolve your first cup or 2 pretty easily, but you may need some help getting the other cups to dissolve. If that happens, place those cups in the microwave for about 30 seconds. This should heat the water up enough that you should be able to stir in the remaining sugar. Just remember, the water will be hot, so use caution. When everything is dissolved, we can start adding our food coloring. Add the color that you would like on top to your cup with 1 tablespoon of sugar. In this case, I'm adding some red. Add the rest of your colors in the order you would like your layers to be. Now you can stir the colors in with a spoon. A quick tip. Because the sugar will make your liquid thick and syrupy, it will leave some color behind on your spoon. To avoid mixing colors, I would actually recommend mixing each of your colors with a different spoon. If you heated any of your water, you'll want to make sure to let it cool down before proceeding to the next step. Once your water has cooled, you can start layering it in your final glass. This layering technique can be kind of tricky to master, so I'd recommend reserving some of each color so you can practice a few times. You're going to start by layering your densest color, the one with 4 tablespoons. In this case, that was our blue layer. The green layer goes on top, and I'm going to grab a spoon to try to help me pour the green very slowly and carefully on top of the blue. If you're having trouble getting this to work with the spoon, you could try other things like a pipette or an eyedropper. Repeat this process with each of your colors. Remember, go nice and slow. And when you're all done, you should be able to see some colorful layers. Now that you know how to layer liquids, have fun trying out different color combinations, like your favorite sports team or your Hogwarts house. I hope you guys have lots of fun working on those potion experiments this week. I'd love to know which ones you try, if you changed anything, and how they worked for you. We'd love to see what you've been working on, so please share a picture or a video of your project with us at the library. You can do so through our Facebook at www.facebook.com/FHCPL, through our Instagram. Our handle is @FHCPL, or you can send us an email. Our email address is makerspace@findlaylibrary.org. Hope you have lots of fun working on those projects, and I will see you again next week for a new project. Bye!